Hello, I am Brock Stanton. I'm an aspiring meteorologist, and today we are going to be doing a quick update on this moderate risk that includes the threat for strong tornadoes from areas of northwestern Texas, basically Oklahoma City and points south. You can see the area right in here has a population, so it can hopefully show up. But basically south central Oklahoma through the Oklahoma City metro and western through like the southeastern Texas panhandle is in that moderate risk for tornadoes. Also a moderate risk for hail. However, the tornado is gonna it's a very conditional risk. Another thing I wanted to mention with this is that the environment's very favorable for tornadoes. The storm mode is still a little bit of a question mark. So hopefully the storms stay a little more clustered than what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking, so that there's not as many strong tornadoes. But the environment is very favorable, and even if the storm mode overall stays a little more linear, a little more clustered, it only takes one tornado to make an event really bad. If the event underperforms for the most part, but the one storm that stays isolated is coming down right down your street, that's an issue. It doesn't matter what the overall event is if it's very significant for you. So just because the threat is conditional and uncertain doesn't mean you don't take it seriously, because if it comes together right in your area, that's a very serious issue. But we're going to be diving more into on the models. It's this day 2 enhanced risk. There's two areas of 5% tornado, a 30% wind contour, and a 15% for hail. And we're just going to be talking about this day, but there is also this day 3 slight risk, and then also with a day 4, 5, and 6 risk that we'll show you quickly that I'll hopefully be able to cover for you in future videos. 4, 5, 6. You see how severe weather seems to be shifting north. But we are going to be taking a look at, this looks like a good area to cover it. We're going to take a look at our reflectivity output first. And I will say, this also seems very, very conditional, very uncertain. There's a couple things that have to come together still, but there's potential for a good bit of damaging winds with this setup, hence the enhanced risk. We can see here how this looks like the storms organized are left over from the overnight, and then they kind of crash into the warm sector. And on the H-strip bar, that's kind of it. And then the NAM tries to develop this line more into the overnight hours, but on the H-strip bar, it's really just this round in the late in the morning and early afternoon hours, and then it just kind of fizzles out. You can hear, let's just take a sounding here and see what it's looking like here. And there's not too much curving in the hodograph, but our storm relative helicity values are at least a tiny, you can see it down here, 144, is at least a tiny bit supportive of a tornado, so we could see an isolated tornado threat with that. And again, this threat is just going to come down to like how this morning round plays out. Is this going to be the more substantial risk, or is it going to be like the NAM, which I'm going to show you quickly. Here, we're going to see what the 18Z shows. I was talking about 12Z when I said that, but I think the 18Z should be in range of this. That's like the first round, and then the 12Z NAM, here we're going to see what it does. Develops this second round, so there's our first round, kind of weakens, and then the second round develops. I will say that 18Z NAM so far looks a lot more like the 18Z HRRR than it does the 12Z NAM, like the way that the strength of the morning round. So I would think that, and we'll take a look at this in a little bit as the model continues to load in, I would think that the 18Z NAM really wouldn't have as much storms behind that first round, so perhaps it's going to be a morning into the early to mid-afternoon event. That's my most likely scenario right now, but you can see how these line of storms HRR will move eastward, and then here, that's that second round that tries to develop, but it just really can't on the HRR. There's too much, not enough time for the atmosphere to develop. We can say we have modest amounts of CAPE here. On the HRR, it's about 500 to 750, and then this northern mode does have a little more CAPE because it's able to develop a little later in the day. So be curious, because there is, I don't know if I ever showed it, there's 0.25% tornadoes areas, and that's where the other mode up there. Never really looked at storm end up firing supercells there. Here you can see it develop these storms here. I was focusing mostly on that southern node, that's why I'm showing this again. It shows these clusters of storms up here that could be capable of isolated tornadoes as well. So we saw our Cape overall, especially for the earlier round in Arkansas, seems to be a little more limited on the Cape. I'm curious to see what the 850 jet is looking like, whether we'll make up for it or not. And here, let's just see, that might be behind the storms. Yeah, that's behind our storms, our 850 jet there, so that makes me think that the 850 jet would be there for the evening round if it develops, but the HRRR just, again, does not develop, but there's just there's like no instability behind that morning round. So if that evening round, overnight round does develop, then there would clearly be low-level shear supportive of that tornado risk embedded within the line, but in a risk of damaging winds as well. But I'm not confident that mode will evolve. I'm much more confident in that morning round happening that could be capable of some damaging winds, but I just don't. It could end up messing up the evening round. I could see that happening. We are going to take a look at our storm relative helicity values at our 0 to 1 level here. We're going to see how, for the morning and early afternoon round, there's not too much. Maybe across southern Arkansas there's going to be a little bit more favorable environment, but you can see how this is all post-frontal, and this is where our environment would be more favorable for tornadoes even within a squall line, as our 0 to 1 storm relative helicity values get up around 200. But again, there's just going to be no instability left for that round, at least based off the HRRR. So I find it, there's nothing. No instability, because the morning round just eats it up too much. So we know we're going to have this morning and early afternoon round of storms, from west to east. And but we don't know is the effect that's going to have, because, some models were still showing, the 12Z NAM, that evening round could redevelop. But if it doesn't, then there'll just be no severe risk, and with that evening round, it would just be in the morning and early afternoon. So the timing of this risk is very unclear. There's going to be two separate modes for timing, and we just don't know if one of those is going to evolve or not. We are going to take a look at our EHI now, and we're going to see how our values are supportive of severe weather, but not too widespread of a risk. And then again, because of the no Cape, there's just nothing behind it for that. And we're going to take a look at our bulk shear here for these rounds of storms, and we're going to see how there seems to be sufficient values for the first round, perhaps even better values for that second round if it developed, but again, there's just no Cape for on this particular run of the HRRR. Yeah, and we're going to be dealing with a linear mode for this. We're also going to be taking a look at our NAM 3K on this, and we're just going to see 18Z. Will we have enough? Will it develop this evening round? And so it's slower with the progression of it, which is certainly interesting. That it slows down the progression of it a good bit, but that's really going to be the only round. But maybe we'll have to check it out here. I'm doing a lot of this kind of improvised live coverage, just how busy I've been lately, and then there's the severe weather that will be ongoing in Oklahoma, and I want to be following and posting on my Twitter about that, so I have a very limited time to record and edit this, so I'm kind of doing some of this forecasting live. But the NAM 18Z looks to be slower than the HRRR, and I can just tell you that means that other round of storms, it's not going to form. There will be no instability left over for it. But I'm curious to see if that means there's going to be more instability for the morning round. Like, in this case, because it's slower, it's really just more like a round throughout the entire day. And there's more instability for it because of the being better timed up. So probably this here is probably why that enhanced risk is out, or a solution more like the NAM. We're going to take a look at our bulk shear now. I'm curious to see the bulk shear is even better with that first round of storms. And on the NAM, and it does appear to be, it looks to be pretty similar actually. So our deep water shear environment, looks similar. I'm curious to see how our low-level shear evolves with that different timing of the storms now. And it looks, our low-level shear looks pretty marginal for tornadoes. Our storm relative velocity values look pretty marginal. 850 jet. I wonder if it's probably still going to end up being a little bit placed behind it. Yeah. It's going to be displaced behind that first round of storms. So that's going to probably limit the tornado threat with that first round. That's why our storm relative velocity values are so low. And you know what? Okay, that's actually really surprising that the NAM did try and fire these rounds of storms. I have a lot of uncertainty with it because that first round just comes through so late in the day. Though the first round maybe it is a little bit weaker in that area south, so perhaps that leaves a little bit more cape. So that's probably what that's trying to do there. I'll try and get a better view at that. I think that's what it's trying to do. But again, that second round, it's just extremely unclear whether that's going to end up happening or not, to be completely honest. We will take a look at the cape values a little farther south now and just kind of run through it. You can see it's just that narrow plume of instability coming in for it. I tend to think that the morning round is going to be the more widespread risk, at least. If that evening round does evolve, wherever that ends up happening could maybe have a slightly more significant risk just because of the stronger low-level wind fields that will be associated with that. But I do think at least the more widespread risk is going to be that line of storms marching from northwest to southeast across basically the whole state of Arkansas. I do think that's going to be more widespread than whatever ends up happening in the evening, which I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know what's going to happen. I tend to favor towards it's going to be a weaker round. I just don't think enough instability is going to develop behind the storms. Even the NAM, despite showing, is hinting at that limited instability return, even if it is a little bit more than what the HRRR is showing. Yeah, but I do think that is going to be about the... I know it is on the shorter side, but I just don't have much time today, and I'm only talking about one day severe weather with this video, where, to be quite honest, there's just so many uncertainties that it's hard to break down into a very detailed version of the forecast like there is with other days have higher confidence in. So yeah, I will link my Twitter down below, and I will hopefully be able to get a video out tomorrow that I could cover the day 3 and perhaps some of the other severe weather days coming up in the future. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.